We're live. Hello, my name's Steve Jaguar.
And I'm his co-host, Mike Foster.
Welcome to your video newsletter for an impatient world featuring distilled, curated content from all things cybersecurity, Kubernetes, cloud native, big spenders in the industry, things that just make you go, what? And of course, a deep technical dive every week.
Yeah, our technical dive is pretty cool. We got two things. We have a little YAML helping tool. We have Kubesploit, which is pretty nice. Going to do that on Kataconda. Some breaking news, a new acquisition today. Kind of cool.
Yeah.
We need a breaking news highlight segment.
Yep.
It's coming. And then we have some funny Reddit stuff, some WTFs, hackers complaining, and some deep fake money. So I'm actually pretty excited. This is going to be a good show. And thanks for tuning in. Welcome. Yes, big acquisitions.
All right. Exciting stuff. Yeah, it's always every time we schedule the show, we're chatting beforehand in the back room, in the green room, our own green room, and we're like, "What? We had it."
Mm-hmm.
How are you doing?
Doing well.
Yeah,
things going well. Yeah,
I feel like crap.
Yeah, you're a little food poisoning, huh?
Yeah, I'm trying to kill myself. It seems, but
but you wouldn't let you.
What's that?
You got in your own way.
I got my own way, yes, but the show must go on. So, and we have those standards here, so I can still do this.
Exactly. C'est la vie. You had a virus, you fought it off.
That's right. Just like cybersecurity.
Yeah. Well, or you should just pay somebody.
I should have just done that. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Are we going to crack on with story number one?
Yeah, we'll get into it. This is just a general news story. So we have the 9 key takeaways for software security teams.
Yeah, I added this one.
Yeah.
Let me jump in. So
and zoom in a bit too.
Oh, is it really small?
Yeah, and as we jump in, if anybody's watching and you want to check out the links, look in the YouTube description. They're all there for you.
All right, they are. So BSIM 12. So I used to work at Synopsys. Synopsys makes the BSIM. Actually, BSIM was created by a company called Cigital. One of the founders, Gary McGraw, John Stephen, they came up with this concept, building security and maturity model. It was basically a report that is the outcome of talking to over 100 different companies. Rather than tell you how to do your security, they look at what is happening in the industry. And then from that, you can pay them. You don't have to pay them. And they will say, well, here's how you compare to everybody else. So you can say, I don't suck the most. And that helps you guide your security program. It's actually pretty cool. Mm-hmm. But what's great is when they release the report every year, you get a lot of really interesting information. For example, people throw around this number that security is outnumbered 100 to 1 by DevOps teams. That's from this report. And a lot of people don't realize that's where it came from.
Interesting.
So what was cool about it, why it grabbed my eye, and actually why it came to me, like I don't really follow this, but it came in one of my Google alerts because it mentioned cloud native and containerization. So there's a lot of interesting increases in security, 89%. Like, what is that, good or bad? It's hard to tell. Everybody does pen testing, but there we go. Dramatic increase in cloud and container technologies. So that is, it's been fascinating because when I was at Synopsys, it's like containers and cloud wasn't even mentioned because that was like 2014, right?
Yeah.
So, and then every year you see the result of migrations to cloud, Kubernetes, and containerization. And because a lot of the companies that are on this list are big companies, like slow to move, banks and financial institutions. So I just thought it was really interesting to see that it got called out as number 6, as one of the big takeaways, is that probably why big companies that secure cloud and container technologies are being acquired for a lot of money.
Yeah, there is a hole in the market that needs to be filled. I like the number 7, software security groups shift from mandating behaviors to a partnership role.
Yeah.
Because partially because of containers. You know, when you're looking at virtual machines versus containers can be immutable, stateless, right? You have it's a different method of securing it because you can separate all your crown jewels and your workloads. You don't need to enforce on everything, right? If your database is away, you just need to make sure that that is extremely secure. If you have something that's an immutable container, it's like, okay, well, don't get our web page. You don't need all the code that's in the container, but you should be okay if that single spot gets exploited. So,
That's good. Makes sense. Makes sense. It's like an indicator that the world is catching up. Probably.
yeah,
You know what?
slowly.
I credit us and all the good advice that we give on this show with making change in the industry. That's what we do.
So, just right there.
Yeah.
No, this is pretty good. It's how many companies do they talk to?
Supply chain. Exactly. I don't know. I'd have to go check out the actual report, and then I have to sell my soul to download it, and I don't really want to do that. But it used to be 113 or something less.
Gotcha.
Around last time I checked.
Yeah, and this is, I think, where tech companies sometimes fail is there's a difference between how we would like to pitch security and how you realistically implement it. That's where the value in these breakdowns come from. It's like, oh, they're doing this. Why? Well, because it works for them, or they have friction, or they're making trade-offs. I did Salt Security's in here, and I found their comment pretty interesting too.
Oh, were they? Where were they?
Yeah, I'm sorry if I'm messing up your name, Michael, but it's Michael Isbitsky, technical evangelist, Salt Security. There are limited personnel to work on problems in an organization, and they're often working with constrained resources or tight timelines. Prioritization is key, and making choices based on that is fundamental to the security strategy. And I kind of think about how companies run. It's like security team, you get 5 million and 10 million a year, or 500,000, whatever it is. So you have X amount of resources, X amount of people. It's like you either have to get a very good piece of equipment and standards in place, or you have to have enough people to throw at the problem that you can tighten up your overall structure, right? But how you want to do that as a leader, as a CTO, as a CEO, and how you want to make that decision is interesting. But doing more with less is the name of the game in security, and it's really hard to make that pitch, I find, in companies.
Yeah. Wow, that was absolutely correct. Anything else from that? There's a lot to digest in that article, so do check it out. And actually, as much as it is I want to call it almost like a marketing thing to create the report, right? So that people then go pay for the service. It is actually worthwhile trying to look at the report because there's a lot of really valuable insights in it overall, not just those 9 or whatever random number that was.
Is it an SEO thing to do 9 now?
Is that the magic number?
So like top 10?
Find it. Well, anything that isn't 10.
Oh, you just don't 13, do 10 on Google?
No, don't do 10. Come on. I'm going to get lost in the shuffle. And plus, it looks like you haven't thought about it. What if there was
you're just doing top 10, so you're just shoving things in there instead of being like, oh, well, we only have 9.
Yeah, it's just like there's only 9 worthwhile. They must have really thought about it. Sure.
Yeah.
All right. Let's dash on to this next one. And it's worth saying right away, we don't know Illumio. They're not friends of ours at all. This is in here just because Illumio used to have nothing to do with cloud native security. They had a pretty cool visualization and network monitoring security firewall-y thing for big entities like VMs, talking to VMs, and I've seen it and it's really quite spectacular. But Kubernetes was like a black hole, which is actually what I think in the Kubernetes security market is part of the sales pitch, right? Your old solutions don't work with the new networks, and that was true. Illumio even admitted, though, we can't see inside this kind of networking, and then they decided they can do it now. So that's interesting. I've not seen it. I didn't watch the demo. Did you?
Cloud native security made easy.
I actually like that. In the StackRox days, I I've told every single marketing team I've ever spoken to in security, say the word easy, because security is hard.
Yeah.
Whether it's true or not, just say it.
Yeah. And yeah, it's kind of something you can just put out there, and I can't vet that.
No.
If you say, hey, we reduce costs or we reduce time to implement, it's like, okay, well, where are your statistics on that?
Yeah.
Hey, welcome to marketing. Yeah.
Yeah, welcome to marketing. And people don't say easy. How do I know that? Because it's not in the bingo card.
That's true. Cloud native definitely is at this
Yeah.
point.
Yeah, definitely. You got to say that. So I just thought I threw that into the list because I thought Illumio seemed like a company getting left behind, and all of a sudden, well, you could tell by their website, it sucks. It looks like it was designed in 2005.
Yeah, they do use the bingo card though. Zero trust network, zero trust security. What is zero trust?
Yeah, they're hitting it all.
Yeah.
Let's not do the bingo card because it's too easy in this case. Yeah. All right.
Too funny.
Let's go check this thing out.
Yeah, this is a
wait. Watch this. Ready? Oh, it gives me
ooh, shiny.
Look at it. I'm a magpie.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So Steve put this in, and we were chatting about the other day, and I just said my one critique, because I love like data is beautiful. I follow that whole Reddit thread. It's awesome. Is I want it to look like the wealth chart. If you like look and you see top 10 billionaires where people go in and out, but instead it looks like when they created the graph, they just went from the final and then they will move backwards.
Yeah.
So
look at design.
I'm gonna go any history. Yeah, I gotta go put a little feature request or a little PR in that GitHub, because it's just a GitHub.
Is that all it is?
I think that
probably. I haven't actually dug too deep into it yet. I just saw it. Let me see. Well, we can do that later.
Yeah,
but it looks neat. I just hold it.
By Wayne Haber. Wayne Haber. Shout out.
Yeah, it's interesting. I just made some other data show up. I'm like, there. Oh, I made it go backwards by clicking on 2003.
Oh, you can just make it go. Oh, you can just make it go to the year. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Ah, look, there's the other. I think there's the other things. The invisible ones are there. Are they? No, they're not. They're just not. They don't.
But it looks like
there.
So Flourish, from what I gather, is an app that kind of plugs into GitLab and gives you some data visualizations, because it looks like Wayne is doing some other stuff.
Oh,
so shout out Wayne.
Oh. Yeah, very cool. There it is. Yeah, it's neat. So there we go. We can move on. You want to go play with that?
Yeah, the next three general news are just fun things. We wanted to keep it light today, so we have this one's kind of cool. $35 million from a deepfake heist.
It's cool. Yes. You added this. Do you want to give a description on it?
Sure. Yeah, it's pretty much exactly what the title says. The hackers used some video clips, deep fakes of bosses, in order to transfer millions of dollars, and it worked.
Yeah, what a surprise!
Yeah,
where's it?
And I think these the speed at which people are going to get hacked, because the speed at which technology moves, I think is just going to increase over the next 10 years. I think there is a whole generation that really doesn't understand some of these tools that are coming out. And, you get phishing attacks at work, or it's like security sends you phishing things to make sure you don't click on random email stuff. Nobody prepares you for a voice note sent to your phone that sounds like your boss, right?
Well, did you see the highlight? A call from someone asking for money is different than an email claiming to be a Nigerian prince.
Yeah, didn't even read that, but yeah, it checks out.
And it gets very cool.
It gets even worse when I can go online and know everything about you just with a Facebook search, right?
Yeah.
So now it just comes down to how much time do I need to put into to be able to exploit you, right? Now, what I do find, because let's say I'm a hacker and I want to put time in, I wouldn't necessarily just go and be like, oh, I want to go on Facebook and find this one person who I can exploit, right? So you think that they use some sort of register to do like like you get random pings on texts from people who are trying to hack you and do shit, right?
Yeah.
And you kind of want to know who would click those, and then you can filter it down and pick your couple.
Oh,
Do you know what I mean?
you can try it. Yeah, sure. You can try an easier version, a cheaper version
First.
and then when they click on it, and then nothing bad happens,
Yeah.
except for the fact you just told them you're an idiot who clicks things.
Mm-hmm.
Then you
then
can
you find the
deepfake
big whales.
crap out of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you go and you narrow the list down to 50, and you go on LinkedIn, and you're like, oh, there's a CEO or there's a so-and-so who's might be exploitable, and go from there.
What? Or just under the CEO. Find out who works for the CEO.
Yeah.
And then deepfake the CEO and give that person a call. I mean, the
Yeah.
CEO doesn't send money, but somebody who works for them does.
And then what if the person under that deepfakes you? And then we get into a whole Mission Impossible Ethan Hunt mask off thing. Yeah? I deepfake the deepfaker.
Holy crap. That's gotta come in a movie.
Hollywood, hire me. All right.
All right.
Something lighter. I spent too much time on Reddit this week. I found this and I thought it was hilarious. It came up in our chat too.
Oh yeah. I laughed for a while looking at this. I in a previous life, I was a skateboarder. And all I just saw was this, this freaking dude kick flipping a rake down a set of stairs. Jesus. The most complicated way of just shooting yourself in the foot. It's awesome.
Sometimes I feel like people in tech are just masochists. Sometimes the coolest thing to create a hassle, to then solve it, to then hate it, to then move on to the next technology and do the same thing, right?
Yay, progress.
Yeah.
All right. That was a fast one. I could just sit and stare at this all day.
Yeah, it's too good.
But we must move on to a new
I was going to say, because I did the intro and I didn't even talk about this big thing. So let's do it.
Now, what starts with the letter C?
Yeah, so big CVE coming in. Steve, you found this one first.
Yeah. I found it because because we demoed Kubesploit a couple weeks ago, and they were largely about the following the new NSA guidelines. So that was like in August, I think we did that because that's when it all came out. Yeah, that early September. And they like almost instantly added a check for this Kubernetes and Nginx Ingress vulnerability. So I'm crediting them. You can go here, and it's really interesting if you read all the lengthy discussion here. How much deep diving have you done? Essentially, it's involving snippets, annotations, and how you can run code with a snippet annotation modification to the config map.
Yeah, and I believe that it allows a non-admin user to get access to all of the cluster secrets, which you can then use to get into other workloads.
And Ingress Nginx by default, its RBAC asks for access to all secrets.
Yeah. Yes. Nginx Ingress is let's say, has a big impact when exploited. And there's a reason why Rancher made it not the default and not default setup in 2.6 as they get more secure and as they make security choices. Security choices, yeah, coming up.
Nice.
So, yeah, it's a big vuln. It is a fairly easy fix.
Yeah.
You can simply say allow snippet annotations to false.
Yep. There it is there.
I believe that they have patched something, but it didn't fix the issue completely.
That I believe is true as well. If you go, there's a lot to read here, and there's a lot of people in here. Like Roy McCoon is in here talking about. There he is there. Yeah, it's fascinating to see what everybody's talking about, how they did it, and all the different rules. People trying to write OPA rules that can look for it, and actually based on that, you can actually sort of see like some of the suggestions for creating other rules around how to get rid of it. Fox in on it. Yeah, I assume so. Oh no, not different person.
No. And there's a couple
Somebody-
different
There.
ways that you would be able to see and check and stop this, right? Like if you were in ACS, for example, we watch for those get secret commands, and if Nginx did that, you'd get alerted on it. Whether or not you blocked it is different, right?
Mhm.
If you have a security tool, you should be able to see that sort of ask, depending on what the tool is. But I mean, regardless, this is pretty significant, and I know a lot of teams use Nginx Ingress, so
Mhm. Yeah, it's kind of a big
It's big.
deal, and there's a lot of discussion here where depending on how like they're using looks like Lua actually to run code in it, which is interesting here. But yeah, it's you got my brain thinking, oh, okay, that's weird, and then I started thinking the idea of adding a snippet or an annotation snippet that allows me to change the behavior of my ingress to the point where I can that in itself sounds dangerous.
That is
Let
one of the
alone the
criticisms
remote
of
code.
Nginx,
Yeah.
though, right? I mean, you did a whole
Yeah.
write-up of it, and a lot of the issues that people run into with security is it has admin permissions, can see all your workloads, and you're allowing a lot of configuration just through a configuration file, right? So if somebody's
Yeah.
playing with annotations in the config YAML, they don't quite understand what's going on, boom, now you have
Yep.
access to everything. And that is not an easy fix. Your secrets get out and all your crown jewels, your databases.
Yeah. One of the suggestions I think at the end of that all that banter was that don't use an Nginx ingress. Well, don't use Nginx ingress, but it was also don't use like a big global one.
Yep.
That a lot of people were sticking them per namespace,
Yep.
right? And so that-
100%. That's
yeah.
you. And there is the ability to do something more global, and you can set Ingress classes and things like that. But even if you do something with Ingress that is bigger than a single namespace, make sure that it is set for an Ingress class, and there isn't a default too. You can also do that so that if something gets put in the default namespace, it doesn't automatically try to connect to it, right? So there are different ways that you can set that up. And I think regardless, the general rule should be zero trust. Zero trust. Yeah. But yes, namespace, use it as much as you can. Right?
Cool. Yeah, that's a good one. Good CVE this week.
Yeah. On to the crazier
Next,
stuff.
onto the crazy.
All right.
Yeah, all right. This is fully stupid.
Yeah, this is I just honestly, it's the title that always gets me. You know, you're reading through the internet, ransomware hackers nervous, alleged harassment from the US. And
Harassment.
this just screams like somebody threw rocks on the playground and now I'm gonna go complain to the teacher, right? If you read the article, I found it to be more of a political stance than an actual security stance. There's just it's like, you know, you hacked us, we retaliate. Oh, we don't like how you retaliated. The typical back and forth. I will say that from a security standpoint, I think what they get wrong in this is you can't just go full defensive on security. If you're a nation state, let's say, and just politics worldwide thing, if you go full defensive, you also let the other side maybe make changes, infiltrate, do things. You need to be able to disrupt them too, right? You have to go in there and say, hey, we're going to come up with new attacks, do that stuff. Now, previously in the US, probably, I don't really know enough about the US politics, but again, you go all attack. And then what happened, we had a bunch of security tools that the US developed used on the US. So there's that.
Wait, are you saying weapons made by the US get used against the US?
Shocking. Yeah.
That never happened before.
I know.
Yeah.
And you think that if you develop it, that you would probably have a good safeguard for it coming back on you. But
yeah.
And
yeah.
I think in general, the thing that just made me go WTF about this article was if you poke something and it fights back, you can't complain, right?
It's funny. They said the quotes I've got on the screen here made me laugh. Like these are from the ransomware people Endless talks that ransomware is bad. We would like to point out that the biggest ransomware group of all time, your federal government. Okay, kids. All right. Only time will tell who the real bad guys are. It's you, the bad guys. That's who it is. And in the future, there won't be, we're not going to go, oh, America was the bad guy the whole time.
This sounds like my first week in Boston when I went to school and learned about the Tea Party. Throw the tea.
Yeah.
Screw the king. They're bad.
It's a little like that. It's a little, it's
hyperbolic.
Yeah. Yes. There you go. Nice.
Yeah, I suspect it's empty. The last quote was a good summary, though. It's like, I suspect that it's empty posturing and bravado, and I think they might be playing on some U.S. feelings there with that whole line. But it was a national article. It was an NBC News, so that just kind of made me go, interesting that I got that far. The next one, speaking of eating my words, this is
couldn't be any. We're collectively eating our words, because was it as recent as last week?
It was last week.
We made fun of this foundation with another foundation, the Open Source Security Foundation. This is ridiculous. They have 10 million.
Yeah.
Like, bang, next week, with financial commitments from, let me zoom in on this one, Cisco, Amazon, Dell, Ericsson, Facebook, Fidelity, GitHub, Google, IBM, basically everybody big.
Red Hat, Sneak, VMware.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's nuts. Like, it's everybody. Why didn't we I said this last, we should start a foundation. Doesn't matter what it is, just start one and say, who wants to fund us? We're in security. It's like starting a security company, but not really. But your association with the Linux Foundation means now you have a bunch of money. What's some of the quotes here made me, I am gonna eat these words next week.
Yeah. You can say this stuff.
Which is why joining forces with this prestigious foundation, it just started. How is it prestigious? That means you have a reputation.
Maybe they're talking about the Linux Foundation.
Well, yes, the Linux Foundation is prestigious, but this isn't yet.
No. Will help us collectively make sure critical software programs at the end-to-end software delivery pipeline is secure and trustworthy. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, that's probably true.
The thing I always am curious about is, if you're going to set some standards, how are they implemented? Who's implementing them? Because if the big companies are all just funneling money and saying, hey, we're working together to implement that, aren't you really just kind of gatekeeping in a sense? Some way? I'm just very curious if it's kind of like a, hey, we're all going to get together, do a bunch of research and offer up and like knowledge for you to apply. Great. If our standards going to get pushed down into the rest of the open source community, because then I'm kind of curious how what that looks like. Like Tencent's in there, right?
There's Tencent
Tencent.
there.
Yeah.
I didn't read what they said. But there's a few like Apiro's in here, Nutanix.
I mean, it's all the big cloud companies in here. GitLab.
Yeah. GitLab.
How long do you think it takes to put all this together? Because
you know what? I don't know.
You have to ping all your partners. It's a pretty significant effort just to put together this foundation, and then to get 10 million in funding.
But it seems a little like Live Aid, which before your time, the Bob Geldof got everybody to play at Live Aid by lying and calling them all and telling them all everyone's confirmed but you, when no one had confirmed, and everybody went, oh crap, all right, well, we're in then.
Yeah. And it's kind of like you don't want to be the company to sponsor the security. Like, you're the one company that doesn't spend money on the security foundation. It's like, oh, they don't care about security.
Yeah, I kind of wonder if that's how they got this funding so easily. But anyway, when they actually do something, we'll be here and we will eat these words. We'll print the words out on a piece of paper and we'll eat the paper or something. I'm sure they're going to do something good. They've got, given the size of those companies, actually 10 million seems like hardly anything.
Yeah. And most likely the people that we know in the community that have a say in things will also be involved. So I'm not too worried about it. It's just my cynic hat on.
Yeah. Exactly.
Speaking of vetting things and cynicism.
Okay. This is amazing. I gotta bring it up.
Yeah.
You added it. You can go.
Yes. Hacking Gang creates fake firm to hire pen testers for ransomware attacks. And the whole point is you had a bunch of hackers that didn't want to expose themselves or face or anything like that. And they would go and hire people who could be the face of the company, go and sell deals. Hey, we're going to come and test your networks and all this stuff. And then as soon as they got in, they would use that to then hack the networks. So they used individuals to get credibility, and then the hackers infiltrated it. So yes, that has actually worked. And somebody has just when this was posted, this is actually like vet your companies as in watch who's hiring you. Because you could get used as a front for a hacking group. And I don't know. This is just a story that made me go WTF, but very smart for the hackers. I mean,
oh yeah,
you need a fall guy, right? Yeah.
That's bastionsecure.com. I went there. Dangerous.
Oh,
so you can't go look at it. You could go through and look at it still, but yeah, it's a great idea. Vacancies, hiring a reverse engineer. Awesome. It's so obviously smart. So many. What I feel bad for is there is a real company called Bastion Secure. They live at bastionsec.com, not. And I bet they're like, oh, this is not good for us.
Yeah. Yeah, no kidding.
It's bad. So there you go. And they have, I like the image. There's all sorts of hacking tools that they've rebranded and put into a command manager interface. It's great. It's really quite really clever
software. Yeah, that's a lot of effort.
Yeah, so that's awesome. Of course, it's just, why wouldn't they just do it again?
Yeah, I mean, you'll take the same website and get a different company and do the same thing again, right?
Yeah, do it again. So you're exposed. All right, well, create a new site. It's easy to create a company.
Yeah, that's part of the whole going on the offensive. Like somebody goes and does this, you need to kind of fight back and shut them down so they can't. Like they're going to come back up, right? But just make it harder.
So vet your security companies and the companies that are hiring you. Supply chain.
For your own sake.
Yeah, it's funny. The Palo Alto Unit 42 guys, the research team, they got hired recently to go inside a company as like this and see how bad they what could they expose as an employee.
Interesting.
And they just took it apart.
There's a ton.
They're not it was part of a recent report, and they're just like, they were allowed to say who hired them and of course any of this, and they couldn't even, in the end, like the intent was to create a report, and in the end they couldn't. Yeah. Because it just had too much, like, it didn't matter you didn't say the company. If hackers saw what they did, they'd go.
Yeah, you don't even want to expose those options, right?
The vectors. You don't even want to show what they were. So yeah, it's interesting that is happening.
Scary. The remote work aspect is I think the scariest, especially when you see things that aren't in tech, like education and healthcare. You understand why these are just ripe for exploits. Anyways.
All right. Next.
Big money?
Yeah.
There's a couple big spenders. Let's do it.
Ho ho.
Yes.
You added these first guys. Interesting. Well, oh, I you know what? I'd never done this before. This button showed up. I didn't know we can move us down like this. It's neat, right?
I don't mind this. The only thing is it kind of cuts off the. No, I can't do that. You do that?
Well, that's what we normally do.
Yeah.
I just thought I'd try it.
Interesting. Yeah.
Neat. All right. AppRight.
AppRight. If you go to the second link, actually, it's a little bit better because this is the breakdown from the investment company, but this is AppRight itself. So AppRight got some seed funding. They're a secure open source backend server for web, mobile, and Flutter developers. And I think it's interesting how microservices have broken apart monoliths to the point where these applications that you never thought would get funding are. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yep. Totally.
Because everybody has a specific use case, and like if you go and get this big, huge solution, it might not fit for your smaller company. This is pretty good. It's a developer tool, but it's also for, hey, you're going to develop on open source, and hey, you want to go and create a security company off of open source solutions, you might need to actually secure for your developers, make it easy. And there's a couple different ways to do that, but it's an interesting value prop.
Yeah, it is very cool. I never heard of them.
Yeah, and I think developer tools are going to get a lot more visibility in the next couple of years. Things like this.
Definitely. It looks cool. Looks cool. Maybe
Now, do they have shift left on their webpage?
I don't. They're all about shift left, but I don't see it. Let's just look for the word shift. Nope.
Nice. Bingo.
Yeah. But it probably makes them feel a little bit more legit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm not seeing how much money they got.
No, does it say on this guy's? Chip Hazard, what a name.
Oh, $10 million seed funding round. That's pretty big for seed.
Yeah.
Right?
That is. That's very good. I'd take 10 million. Somebody gave me 10 million right now. I could probably create a pretty cool company, and I don't even know what it would be yet.
Yeah, foundation, right?
Nice. A foundation. I could
10 million.
that.
There you go. Yeah. Open SSF.
All right, cool. That's good. And the next one is named after 80s punkish pop rock band Devo. 250 million round. What round is it? I didn't check to see what round it was. Series E.
Wow.
Oh, so they've been around a while. But I didn't say I'd never heard of Devo.
Cloud native logging and security analytics company.
Check these guys there.
I think you're having companies that originally had a solution and they're pivoting, and it's kind of like they're getting towards the end. But if you slap cloud native on something, you can get more funding right now.
Series E, 250 million, probably the biggest funding they've ever got. I don't understand. Also, I think you're totally right. Logging and security analytics to confidently defend the entire attack service. So it's like, oh, good, I can defend that entire attack service. No, they would not us. We don't do that. We give you logging and security analytics so that you can somehow do that.
Yeah.
Now I'm heckling them. I'm sure they're very good. They actually won some kind of a award recently. Like they came like before we did the show.
This is where they get this is
Did
where
you
they
have
get their
an
money.
epiphany?
Yeah. So if you have an existing like security information event management system, SIEM tool, which most people have, like you'll have what am I blanking all the big ones, right? Yeah, Splunk or something like that. Well,
yeah.
If you have a big like log ingestion and security, well, you can send logs to your operations and you can send security event logs to your other tools to do it. And basically what it is I think it's kind of that intermediary, hey, here's our specific context and information that you can go and put into cloud native, like anywhere, VMs, containers, all that stuff, and then hook it into your security solution. That's my guess from what I'm seeing from this, because they literally specifically call in on platform and security operations, transform your SOC with the next gen cloud. And so either they want to be that tool that's replacing Splunk, or they're going to funnel it into it, right?
So a security focused Splunk, but Splunk just released a security focused version of Splunk.
And is it, maybe it's just getting too mature of a market to the point where you're going to have multiple solutions for something now? It's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
It's
Competing
just,
against Splunk is not a bad idea.
yeah. I guess
That's a
my
massive market.
yeah, my Synicat would go, can you really actually capitalize on this market? Like, is a 1.5 billion valuation accurate? You really gonna be able to make that revenue?
Splunk makes a lot of money.
Splunk does, but I mean, these
Yeah.
guys.
If you can eat a little bit of their lunch, probably.
They have nearly
Yeah.
100% year-over-year revenue growth, over 100% customer growth, more than 400 employees. Okay, never mind. So they're growing.
They
Solid.
have 400 employees. Wow.
400 employees across North America, Europe, and APAC. Yeah.
Cool.
I might have to request a demo just to check these guys out. This is very interesting.
Isn't went from this is how things normally happen on the show. We start heckling them because we just read the website, the taglines, and go nah, and then we look at it and go, oh, actually, it's pretty good.
Well, yeah, pretty much. I think my hack goes up because you read the marketing stuff and you're like, this could go a couple different ways when you read it.
Yeah.
And they're purposely being vague so that you inquire. And I'm like, they got me.
Yeah, we fell for it.
Yeah.
Nice one. So they have a ton of money now. Excellent. And then we don't have the thing. We don't have the
Breaking
latest
news.
breaking
The
news.
latest.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Boom. SUSE
Crazy.
acquires NuVector or NeuVector, if you're for the Germans out there.
Mhm.
NuVector, did I go to their sites? So it doesn't say how much money, but there you go, right in the front. Now part of SUSE. They say all the same things, so we could put our cynical hats on again. Full lifecycle container security for the cloud native ecosystem. I think so. Having worked for companies that compete with NuVector, like several different ones, we didn't really like in Germany. They did all right because German companies like to buy from German companies.
They're listed in San Francisco too.
Yeah. So, well, that makes sense. But doesn't everybody have an office in San
You have.
Francisco? Yeah. But it's or Boston. But I remember them being a microsegmentation security solution. Way back in cloud native land is like 3 years ago. I'm sure they've expanded upon that. They never really made a huge dent, like the Twistlocks and the Aquas that were kind of the big players in the space. I feel like Cilium, when I saw Cilium, it came up. It looked to me like a more modern version of what they were doing in terms of capabilities that were more Kubernetes native. I didn't really see them as being Kubernetes. I saw them a little like Aqua. They started as containers, like pre-Kubernetes.
Mm-hmm.
But it totally makes sense because it reminds me a lot of the StackRox acquisition.
Yeah, it's a lot smaller of an acquisition though. NuVector's been around, so I'm just reading up on them right now. They've had 5 rounds of funding, raised $19 million total. They have 20 employees, so they're valued at anywhere from 10 to 50 million right now, depending on what's going on. But they're hidden. Like a lot of the information is hidden a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
when was the first round?
2015.
Yeah, see,
they've kind of been just like hovering, right?
But so 2015 wasn't StackRox also 2015? Because Aqua, Twistlock,
2013, 2014 when they started. Yeah,
all the same. Aqua, they all started around the same year.
Yeah, I think one of the difference obviously is StackRox pivoted towards Kubernetes. I think NuVector is trying to kind of stay in, like, they don't specifically say Kubernetes. It's cloud native, right? And more networking. So
that actually kind of works for SUSE though, because SUSE.
Yep, I know exactly why too.
Yeah,
if you're a management platform and you want to build Kubernetes, not everybody uses Kubernetes in the cloud, right? So
yeah,
you could have Kubernetes on-prem, Kubernetes in the cloud, and use some Lambda or container services as well. And you have a security solution that kind of does a little bit of everything, right?
it would work. And SUSE's a little. They may pivot this into containers at the edge.
Lightweight network, yep.
And have a security, because there isn't really a good security solution for that.
Yeah, and NuVector does claim to have L7. So like L4 to L7. security L3 to L7, I think. Security.
Well, yeah, most people are L3.
Yeah, L3 to L7.
So they got all the way up to L7. Okay.
Yeah,
that's
because
good.
I think originally they were probably, L3, and then as you get into the container ecosystem, you can build that functionality. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Makes sense. Yeah. That'll
I think
probably work for SUSE.
we should try to start a free trial. Maybe we should fire one up, test them out.
I have to add it to our backlog.
Yeah, I'm just more curious to see because they got the total funding. They've been a little bit more private. Over under, what do you think they got bought out for?
100 million.
Wow, that's a big.
I think it's
val.
gonna be way more than either that or they wanted an exit. But I'm just the way the industry is now. People are getting whatever you think it should be. It's double that.
Okay, so
What do you think?
what do you think? I was gonna say I think it's gonna be like 75. So should we place the over under at 85?
Done.
I'll take the under.
I'll take the over.
All right. Tune in to see who has to, I don't know, do a jig.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay. Yeah, we have 2 demos coming up. Actually, this is pretty interesting. Got a little YAML thing for you and Kubesploit. So let's get in. Do you know what time it is?
Does everybody know what time it is?
So kicking it off, did you want to take the reins on this one?
Actually, you're going to share your screen for the other one. Do you have it up? Do you want to do both?
Sure, I could do both.
Doesn't really matter.
Pull
But
it over.
Seeing as you're doing the other one, you could just run with it.
That works for me. Well, this is less
I
smooth than I thought it was going to be, but here we go.
Kubernetes YAML generation.
Yeah, I got it. All right. So do you hate YAMLs? Well, here's an option for you. Kubernetes YAML generator powered by Octopus.
Oh, this actually looks better on your screen because of your wide monitor share. So that's good you did this.
Nice. Yeah, true. I think I can make it a little bit wider too. Oh, that didn't really help.
No, it looks good. It looks good. Do it like that because mine.
But yeah, so I mean, the nice thing is, you have a step, you want to configure a deployment. You can change all of these directly in here. Set some defaults, deployment strategies, volumes, containers, exposing, add a container. It has everything you need here. The one thing that I was a little shocked about was the pod security context. Run as non-root, enable run as non-root, do not enable run as non-root. Shouldn't it just be run as non-root, true or false? And it should just default be clicked to false?
That would be clearer.
Yeah.
There's too many negatives / positives in do not enable run as non-root.
Yeah.
Just the phrase makes my head turn inside out. Enable run as non-root. Just leave that there, true or false.
Yeah. Oh, this is interesting because you can bind it. Node affinity. I think one of the best things about this is just to be able to see all the options, right? And I don't, no offense to Kubernetes docs. If I want to go see all the deployment stuff and I go through the docs, there's no like, here are all the options available to you. And here's what they do as you click through.
Yeah, I actually learned some options in it that I didn't like, oh, what does that do?
Yeah, specifying service account, readiness gates. Ton of stuff here. Shout out to Octopus. I don't really know much about them. You could click through. Powerful DevOps automation, Octopus deploy. That's their whole thing. So maybe they have some sort of template aspect as part of their platform.
Ship code faster, improve reliability. Octopus seems pretty cool. Maybe we can start a trial there too.
Yeah. Next one. Okay. So moving on to the next thing, Kubesploit. Now I was going to set up a server and do all that, but as I was searching through the GitHub repository, I realized that Kubesploit actually has a demo on Cataconda. So I thought, well, why don't we just use that?
Totally.
It's actually it's a really good example. It says It's funny. It says it's a 60-minute demo and it's like 5 minutes.
So you did it already?
Yeah, it's pretty funny. I'm gonna just add it in here. The basics Kubernetes with Kubesploit. So the first step is just setting up a node and setting up Shocker Nginx. And really, Kubesploit is it's a web server that's going to go and try to get into kubelet. And there's a couple of different attacks that it has that we'll see as we go through this. So the server is located on the control plane, it has a config file, and we're just going to check the server and check the host IP. And we're going to set up the config file. So we know exactly where we're going to install it on the control plane. And then we're going to start the server. Hopefully. Yeah, and there it goes. It's got a little, what do you think about that?
Ooh.
Yeah.
What is it? It looks like
Pirate.
kind of freaky.
It's kind of a skull pirate.
Oh, it is that. Oh, I thought it looked like Yoda or something in there.
Yeah. Yeah. So certificate not found. So it created a certificate used for the session only. And started HTTP to listener. So it's actively looking right now. And now I'm in Kubesploit. So if I run help, it's going to tell me some commands, modules. So if I say use, I can use these specific modules that are loaded up. If you can say like use module help, and you can see like all the modules that are there. If I could see, if we go to terminal 3 and we apply this, so we have a pod privilege container that's created. This is what we're going to use to, I believe, for privilege escalation. And if we run agent list, we should be able to see any agents. So the agent's not up yet, but basically that you have the listener, you're using the container to go and create your agent, and now you have server agent connection, and we're going to access kubelet. So we're going to basically get authentication of kubelet and then be able to send commands to kubelet using Kubesploit to create containers. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Well, so this priv container, which is privileged, and is mounting the Docker sock. Jesus, could you be more wrong?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's just supposed to be an example for people to go through, but
Sure.
vulnerable kubelet attack. So we need to make some changes to kubelet. We're going to change the webhook. If you do the CKS, for example, you need to make sure that the kubelet config cannot be changed. This is an example of how you do it. You can literally just go into kubelet, change the config, and turn off authorization. So you can say always allow for the webhook, and it will take all commands that are sent to it. So after the change, I believe I have to do it in this node. Yeah, so kubelet config has been changed. And we should be able to check. Oh, I got to get out of Kubesploit then. Quit or exit. What do you think? I got to. It's a bug in your little demo. Yeah, kubelet is configured for anonymous connections. This is always fun. And so then if I go into server again, I can do a kubelet attack. Now,
So what's the pardon me, I was going to say, what is the attack?
This
that
one
it's doing?
Not exactly sure what this one's doing. It just says kubelet attack. Linux Go kubelet attack, authenticating and just connecting to kubelet. If we go info,
I see. There's a module inside.
Yeah,
Kubesploit. Okay.
And then there are a couple other things. So we can like create pods, remote code execution, pull tokens. What else are we doing? Oh, so if I go info, that's not working. Set agent all. Okay, we need to set the IP of the target machine. Let's find the IP by running that. So we have the IP. And then I believe we have to oh, are you? Oh, that's annoying. And now we can run pods through. Oh, maybe not. Set command RCE. Oh, the Kubesploit run's not found. Interesting. Oh, well, the demo broke. Maybe it had to do with the agent. Let me see what's going on. The only thing I had when I was going through this is I understand what it's trying to do here because you have a server, you're trying to set up an agent, and then you're trying to use the agent to execute everything that you need, right?
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure how you would set this up. Like, let's say you were going into a hackathon or something like that, or you're trying to exploit something. I guess you have Kubesploit set up locally. You configure it, and then your whole goal is to get the listener, the agent, onto somebody else's host. So then you can make changes to kubelet. You can make all those changes that you need. It's pretty difficult, right? Like if you're going to set up a privileged pod with Docker sock connection and use that, that's a lot of work, right? And requires a pretty insecure cluster.
Yeah, it does.
That's what this
why
means
I
to
stopped.
use, like, right?
Like if Kubesploit, someone's gonna watch this and go, "You guys trashed Kubesploit," because if really you need a privileged container with a mounted Docker sock, if I can do that, I can do anything.
Yeah.
I don't really need a tool anymore because I now have full host control.
Yeah, it's kind of like I think that the benefit is you have all of these pre-configured modules to use. So if you end up ever getting that access, well, you can, like, it's already pre-configured. You don't even need to run any commands or anything like that.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, okay. So it's like Metasploit, right? That hence the Kubesploit name.
Yeah, I think that's the idea. Again, I don't know. If you're getting this far, you probably have. I don't know why this runs command is not working. Default command list. Oh, that's not good.
I like how we've said, oh, if you run this, you can do anything you want, unless of course you're using Kubesploit, in which case it's not working. You'd be better off execing into that agent container you just created and wreaking havoc manually at the moment.
Please refresh to get a new environment. It doesn't like it. I've run too many commands. There is a good example though, because if you go to the fourth step, which I'm showing right now, there is a container breakout, which is fairly interesting. And you're in the container, you're breaking out, you're mounting, and then you can mount those directories into this other terminal, into host 2. So using the privilege escalation and the ability to do it. So it's pretty, here's a main use module, create a shell, set command, and you can go and mount the directory into a different node. It's pretty cool. But yeah, Kubesploit. I don't know. Somebody else, I think you probably need to go and try it out and see if you can configure it in your cluster. Because as I was setting it up, and I was going on CVO too, I just was like, oh, create a cluster, download Kubesploit, started playing around, saw some examples. And then I saw Katacoda, and it's like, oh, well, this is way better than if I put something together. But then I'm also realizing, like, this may be a little bit too complicated. Like, why don't just pull pull credentials, right? And do you need like the listening server to do this? What I would do is if I had access to a cluster and I could mount Docker sock or something like that, you would probably want to try to like pull credentials or get secrets or something like that, and then pull like the kubeconfig,
I
right?
yeah,
Could you do that because you're on the node?
well, you could figure out where the mount points, or you could figure out probably the device. If you're privileged, you're going to have access to the device that represents the disk.
Yeah.
And you can mount it. And once you mount the disk, you could write to it, and you could add a new SSH, and then SSH into the host.
Checks out.
Game over.
But yeah, I guess one of the bigger challenges I had with Kubesploit was so there's kubescan, there's kubelet CTL, all related to Kubernetes, and they basically just loaded up a bunch of modules. And so it's container breakout using mounting, Docker sock, 2019 5736 exploit, scan for cluster CVEs, and then light kubelet CTL contain the following options: RCE pods, tokens, and then run. If I'm going to kind of show what that looks like. All right. The GitHub repository really kind of breaks it down here. So the modules that they've loaded up. Container breakouts, and then we have a dedicated Kubernetes environment in Katacoda. This is what I stumbled upon as well. If you wanted to build it, you got to build it yourself, obviously, which is why I was like, oh, well, I had to build it and then use it in my cluster. I'm like, no, I'm just going to go to Katacoda and use that because it's already set up. And then they have attack vectors that Kubesploit is using. I guess I'd almost want to take the attack vectors or the modules and create my own that doesn't need server agent.
Yeah.
Command and control server. I don't know.
Oh, post exploitation. Okay. Command and control server and agent dedicated for containerized environments ready to go. Okay. I see. I think I'm getting the idea of what it is now. If for some reason you've already found a way to run that container, then it runs with the maximum capability, and Kubesploit allows you out of the box. Let's get all the goodies.
Yeah, and that's what I kind of saw it as. Like, if you can get access to everything, here's like a way to, get maximum payload in, or I don't know exactly how you want to phrase it, but yeah, container breakout, Docker sock mounting. I mean,
Makes sense.
That's the benefit. Yeah,
I get it now. Yeah, I think I thought maybe it was going to help you with the exploit, but it's more like it's not doing that. It's just making post exploitation easy.
It would be. Yeah, it also would be pretty interesting to use in like a dev cluster, or you set up a different prod cluster and you give it to somebody and say, hey, here, if you could ever manage to get this on a node, how far can you get? Because even though you're mounting Docker sock, and your security controls should kick in as you go and create other pods or create other workloads or mount or something like that, there should be a bunch of alerts going off, right? With your security tool. And so it'd be interesting to watch as somebody goes through and tries to break it, if your alerts are properly configured. Right?
Yeah. That actually would be good. That's like security chaos engineering sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, hey, we're putting the security team to the test. Your job is just to make sure all these alerts are configured, and I'm going to go through and see how far I can get in this random cluster.
Okay. That makes sense. That'd be a really good use for it. Test your security tool.
Yeah, because just because somebody managed to get an Nginx or I forget what it is, like a privileged pod on, it's like, okay, well, one, that shouldn't even happen. But if it does, how far can they get?
Okay. Yeah, it would be kind of cool, actually.
So, Kubesploit, let us know what you think. If anybody's using it, come on the show, because you can definitely show us a real example. I mean, other than that, I think I got to go check out New Vector now.
Okay.
I'm gonna get a demo. I'll sign up. I'll sign us both up under my personal account, and we'll go in and be like, "Hey, what's going on? What's this new product you guys have?"
You know, I wonder if so. By the way, I sent your Rancher shows
Mhm.
to Rancher,
Nice.
like the clips, and I said, "Can you look at these and see anything we missed?" Because they said they wanted to come on the show, and they said, "Well, what's the context?" And so they're watching them, so they are
Nice.
still keen to show up. But if they're Sousa and now they have New Vector, I might follow up on that and say, "Hey, you could come on and do that too if you want."
Yeah, I'm very curious about the story and how it's gonna all, because they have RKE V2, which is their secure version of Rancher, right?
Mhm.
And I would not be surprised if you get a RKE V2 with networking security built in. And I think partially it might have to do with what Ingress controller they're using. Do you have there's a little bit more there, but I'm just kind of curious to hear the story.
Nice.
Mhm.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah. What
I
do we got coming up next week?
I have no idea yet. Did we agree we're going to do anything? Are we committing to something ahead of time?
No, just got to tune in, check it out.
That's right. We'll leave you in suspense, but we promise whatever demo we do will work.
Yeah. I'm not going to trust Katakoda anymore. And I also probably made the fault of just clicking through stuff because it worked last night. I'm like, oh, I just need to click this.
It looks actually like it could be pretty easy. I'm going to check to see if if I can do the same thing. I could try it, see if it works on my Pies.
Yeah.
See if I can exploit K8s.
Did I tell you that I need to get a new server now? My server's too old.
What? How's your server too old?
Yeah, it doesn't have some instruction sets that are needed.
Oh, jeez.
For some of the newer applications.
That's weird.
And luckily, IBM made a CPU that they discontinued right before I need the specific socket. So it's like, oh, there goes that server.
Is this your brightly colored purple server? Then you have like a neon lit up.
Oh, that's
gaming.
Yeah, gaming rig. That's down there.
That's not the one. Okay.
What I tried to do is so when I had OpenShift set up, it's pretty easy to go set it up. And if I ever want to do a demo, I can do that. The free trial is pretty simple. Got it set up on the server, and it's like, okay, I need a node that has a newer CPU. So I set up a VM on my PC and hooked it into OpenShift. So I had nodes running over there, and then I used this node to run my newer CPU, and it worked. But just unmanageable,
Okay. All right, and more amazing insights and into Foster's server mayhem life next week.
Next week?
Are we done?
Yeah, I think that's it. It was cool.
All right.
CVE.
Amazing.
It
was good. It was good.
Yeah.
Good show. I think the WTFs have been some of the best yet.
And the Reddit
But
pick.
Anyway, and the Reddit pick was hilarious. This is the end of the show. Tune in next week. If you like the show, share it with your friends. Go check out our YouTube channel because Foster's going through a lot of work and chopping up a lot of the really cool stuff. And you can just watch little clips and segments, and a lot of these demos that we do are there individually, so you can go back without having to dig through the whole show, or you can just watch the whole show again. Go check that out. Like, subscribe, tell your friends, put it on Reddit.
Yeah, love that.
We would love that. We'll send you a t-shirt whenever we have some made. Then you will be a hero amongst your friends and colleagues.
Awesome. Thanks for joining. Signing off. Have a good weekend. I'm Mike Foster.
I'm Steve Jaguar.
Take care.